Welcome everyone to the battle between two of India's finest chess players, Vidit Gujrathi and Vishy Anand. Vidit opens the game with knight f3, Vishy plays d5, g3 the reti, knight comes out, the bishop develops and Vishy also starts building a home on the king side. Vidit goes for the symmetrical variation, c4, c6, the solid Grunfeld. One thing that is slightly surprising is Vidit making his moves with left hand. He generally plays with the right hand, but somehow it seems like he wants to be a little relaxed in this game. Now, he goes a4, which is very logical because you want to stop the pawn coming to b5. Vishy castles it out. And now the main move here is to put your knight on a3 so that you can win this pawn. But right now, Vidit goes for queen c2. He wants to win this pawn, and you can look at Vishy adjusting himself in the chair because he feels that this is not theory. Now, one of the most normal moves is to play a5 and latch on to the b4 square. Get your knight from a6 to b4, but Vishy makes a provocative move. He defends the pawn with his bishop. Why is this provocative? Because now Vidit can jump to g5 with his knight, attack the bishop. But he has to be a little bit careful. The pawn on d4 is hanging. And then he can take here, pawn takes, ruin the structure and go knight d2 attacking here. This would be great compensation for Vidit, but he would be 2 pawns down. And that is exactly what he is thinking over here. Should he go knight g5, give up the pawn? Because if you play knight g5 and the bishop goes back, then the next move you can take the pawn, and this seems like a good position for white. On the other hand, the other options are to develop your knight to a3 and then take the pawn this way. Vidit is taking his time. He's down to 4 minutes. Vishy has 4 minutes 54 seconds. The time control is 5 minutes plus 3 seconds increment. And Vidit goes for the dangerous move e4. Well, he doesn't think he needs to recover this pawn. He's expanding in the center, but now the d3 square is weak. The knight can jump from a6 to b4 to d3, and it could be very risky here. How should Vishy respond? Because Vidit is clearly not going to take it easy on him. He goes at 6 and he tells Vidit, your chance to get your knight here has passed. Now, knight a3. Again, with the idea of knight c4 seems logical, but Vidit goes rook d1, and somewhere he's telling Vishy, I want to push my pawn to d5. Vishy, unperturbed, goes knight to a6. He is looking at the b4 square. Now, very important to play bishop d2, taking control of the b4 square. If you go queen b6, then bishop c3, knight b4, then queen e2, and white is doing excellently well in this position because the c4 square, c4 pawn will eventually fall. So Vidit must be a little careful of this move, knight to b4. But he jumps on with knight e5, and that's a big mistake. Vishy can actually now go knight g4, and the point of this move is that now after you take, the d4 pawn is hanging. Can Vishy find knight g4? No, he goes knight b4 first. He's attacking the queen, which is also a good move. But now Vidit can go queen c3 and attack the knight. He does it. He plays his queen to c3. The knight is attacked. How does Vishy respond to this now? Whoa, he goes c5. He defends the knight and tells Vidit, you can't take the pawn. Your rook is hanging here. So this pawn is pinned right now. c5. Now Vidit must take knight c4. This is a very important move. And then after knight g4, when the attack is unleashed here, you have to play e5. Good or bad, this is the only way to remain in the game. But why not just push the pawn forward with d5? Isn't this a good move? Well, the problem is this pawn is attacking nothing because d6 is impossible. The rook is hanging. And if you're not attacking anything with this pawn, then suddenly this pin becomes absolutely dangerous. Let's see if Vidit falls for d5. He shouldn't play d5. Knight takes c4 is his only chance. He has 2 minutes 30 seconds. Oh, he pushes d5. That is a bad move. But now can Vishy find knight g4? It's the only way to get the advantage. Anything else and Vidit will go f4 and just solidify his position. Vishy finds it. Brilliant move, because now if you play pawn up to f4, then after take, bishop g4, already the position is lost. Knight is coming in, the e5 pawn will fall. So knight g4 is a tremendous move by Vishy Anand. He has taken note of the fact that the rook is unprotected and his bishop is not hanging. So for Vidit, it's big trouble time now, because his knight is poorly placed. He needs to do something about it, and we just saw that f4 would not cut the bill. So what should he do? He goes bishop f4, defending the knight. But now another powerful move is to push pawn to g5. Can Vishy Anand find this? He has 4 minutes on the clock and he is actually in scintillating form right now. Maybe he can spot it, because after g5 the bishop cannot move, e5 would fall, the knight is pinned so it cannot move, the pawn cannot move because it is pinned. He goes g5, finds it. Beautiful chess by Vishy Anand, and right now Vidit under big pressure. He goes bishop to f3 and he tells Vishy, look, now your bishop is hanging because I've just protected my rook. So now Anand, if he's in tremendous form, he'll find this unbelievably difficult move, bishop c8. Why is it difficult? Because firstly, it's a backward move. Secondly, you are not blocking your queen's path here, and I think it's not such an easy move to find it amidst all the calculations that are going on. So Anand taking his time, rightly so. Whoa, he finds it. That's the reason why he's the 5-time world champion. What a move found by Vishy Anand. Suddenly, Vidit is still under big pressure, but now one thing is good. He can actually chop off the knight, which is putting pressure here. Otherwise, he's simply losing material. He has to take the knight on g4, but it's not a happy move you make, because the bishop jumps in and attacks the rook. You no longer can take this because the queen is hanging. And with it now down to 1 minute 20 seconds, he takes, bishop takes g4, and now Vishy chops it off with his own bishop. Pawn comes up to f3. So the position has changed a bit. You can go back bishop h5, which is a fine move. And then, that would be good, but he takes on f4. F takes g4, and now if Vidit, only if he can take here and defend his knight, but Vishy is like, take the pawn, and I want this knight to be undefended. This is a monstrous pin there. How does Vidit react now? He goes knight to a3, and what he's planning to do is he's trying to get the knight here. Vishy goes knight d3, brilliant move, because now the knight is hanging, and if you take knight c4, I take here, and queen c7, and you're losing a piece. So that's the reason why Vidit chops off the knight with his rook, pawn takes on d3, and he's already an exchange down. So his position is very bad, but his knight comes to the center and he's hoping that he can win both of these pawns and then hope for some compensation with these knights. It's a far cry, but it could be possible. Now Anand needs to go. Yeah, he plays queen c7. Fantastic move, keeping pressure here. The queen cannot move, the rook comes in, and I love how quickly Vishy played this move, because imagine if he went a6, there was a5, and so he first goes b6, rook takes, and now a6, and he's telling with it, I'm kicking away your knight here, and then your knight on e5 will fall. How quickly did he spot it? That was just amazing. Now Vishy has 3 minutes, Vidit has 50 seconds. He pushes his pawn forward, pawn takes pawn, knight takes on d6. Now, how do you continue? Rook a d8, definitely possible here, but rook a e8, such a cool move, because after you take, I just take back with my rook, and there's no way to save this knight. You would be a piece down, and after rook a e8, we are waiting for Vidit's move. He has 42 seconds, Vishy has 3 minutes on his clock. He's just used 2 minutes out of his stipulated 5 minutes. What a game by Vishy Anand. He's played just unbelievable chess here. Vidit, of course, playing risky opening and could not recover after those few inaccuracies. And I think it's time to throw in the towel. You can see Vidit calculating last few things, trying to see if there's any way to wriggle out of this mess. But I think there is none. Vishy is confident, and I think the game is over. 9 seconds left, and Vidit resigns. Vishy Anand has done it. What a nice game. I would call this the game of pins. There were so many pins in this game, and Vishy navigated them beautifully.